Ever since Netflix released that show, people haven't been able to stop talking about the red pill, toxic masculinity, or Andrew Tate, and it's been weeks. Anyway, with all the hype around it, this mom actually sat down with her son to talk him out of the whole red pill thing. And whether or not she did a good job is up to you guys. But of course, I'm gonna share my own thoughts on this whole thing. Anyway, without wasting any more time, let's get into the mess.
So I've made some videos talking about how I successfully de-pilled my red-pilled son, and this is one of the questions that came up, and it's so obvious I can't believe I didn't think of it, so thanks for asking. Basically, we were just having a normal conversation, and he said to me, well, women are gold diggers anyway. And I said, what women? And he said, just women in general. And I said, well, name one woman in our life that is a gold digger. And he said, well, I don't know any. Like, that's not the point, it's just women in general. I was like, well, it's not just women in general because you don't know any of them. So, like, that's shouldn't be something that you've bought into when you've seen actually no proof of it. You've literally never experienced this in your entire life.
Right. So the first thing we've got to do is actually define what a gold digger is. And typically, it's defined as someone who, let's be honest, is usually a woman, whose primary reason for being in a relationship with a guy is so she can have access to his money, status, and lifestyle. So, are all women gold diggers in real life? No, of course they're not. But of course, if you're a teenager watching these Red Pill podcasts, you're probably not going to be looking at things with any sort of nuance, which is the problem and why it's so easy for people to come at these Red Pill podcasts. Now, while all women aren't gold diggers, generally speaking, they do have a preference for guys who make the same or more than they do. And I'm not gonna go through all the research right now because that shit's been done to death. But you're more than welcome to look it up on Google. In this clip, she referenced the fact that her son's never experienced being with a gold digger, but that doesn't change the fact that women, in general, do prefer guys with fatter wallets. The thing is though, when you're dealing with people in the real world, all the things that you see people talking about on these podcasts aren't so black and white. But of course, this is never really talked about.
And he was like, yeah, well, you know, it was said on this. And then he showed me the video and I was like, do those men look like they've got gold to dig?
When it comes to her son watching Red Pill content, I can only imagine that he was watching Fresh and Fit or the Whatever podcast. And if this is the case, let's be honest, those shows are making bank, especially the Whatever podcast, since Fresh and Fit have been demonetized. But the super chats alone that come through on shows like this are wild. So even though she might not like what these guys are doing or saying, let's not act like they're not raking it in right now.
And he kind of sat with that for a minute. And then he was like, well, it's not the point though, is it? I says, the point is, mate, a lot of men who have got money don't mind spending money on their partner, the woman that they love, because it makes her look and feel good, right? The only people who begrudge women who want to have money spent on them is men who don't have money, but still want that woman. They want her to drop their standards for him, even though he can't provide the lifestyle she wants and expects. And then he gets mad at her for it, for expecting money, but...
While this might be the case for some guys who are terminally online, the rest of us don't really pay too much attention to things like this. But it doesn't mean we're not aware of it. Like a lot of you watching right now, I'm not 6 foot, and even though height is something a lot of women like in a man, it doesn't mean you have to throw in the towel and live out your life in the fortress of solitude. Because in the real world, you'll be able to find someone if you're willing to put yourself out there. Now, any guy with sense who's watching these podcasts with women talking about how they want their man to make $1 million a year aren't gonna be bothered by that, because all that means is that she ain't for him. So he'll stay in his lane and keep it pushing. If dudes are out here getting pressed about shit like that, they really need to take a minute and look in the mirror because it's not a good look.
It's just a lifestyle choice at the end of the day. And like, you know full well that women aren't doing that en masse, because otherwise nobody would be in a relationship in my area. I live in a low income area. It's like poverty stricken. Do you know what I mean? And like a lot of the men are in relationships, even though they don't earn more than minimum wage. You know what I mean? So basically that's how the conversation started, but I kind of can't like keep going with the video because my dinner is done.
She's right. If every woman needed a man who was making serious bank, no one would be in a relationship. The reality is, people make do with what they've got. So even if a woman does want a guy who's making $100K a year, if she doesn't know or meet men like that, it'd be silly for her to hold out until someone like this stumbles into her life, if ever. I mean, I bet a bunch of the guys in her area would love to date someone like Sydney Sweeney. But since they're nowhere near close to being in her orbit, they're not gonna wait or hope for her to bring them into her life, unless they've got some serious delusion going on. When it comes to dating, most people stay in their lane. They might even go a bit above or below, but most people aren't gonna hope and wait for someone who's way out of their league. At the end of the day, people are still having and building successful relationships, regardless of where they live. But just because someone isn't able to get something, it doesn't mean they wouldn't take it if they had the choice. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments.